Hey guys, it's Chris at Highline Guitars, and it's time for a Luthier's Quick Tip. If you'd like to help support this channel, visit eguitarplans.com and buy a plan. Now on with the video. Hey guys, you're watching another Quick Tips for Luthiers. In this episode, I'm going to be closing out my recent series where I've been talking about different tips and tricks with respect to running your own guitar business, whether you're making guitars or repairing guitars. And to close it out, I thought I would offer sort of a humorous perspective. And what I'm going to talk specifically about is some of the requests that potential customers have sent my way. And this is going to kind of fall under a tip which I'm going to call the customer is not always right. Now, I've always been taught that in business, the customer is always supposed to be right, no matter what. But I think that when it comes to any sort of a business that is geared towards artistic creativity, and I consider building guitars a form of artistic creative expression, in that instance, I think it is possible for customers to sometimes be wrong. And it's important to let them know when a project may not work. And if you don't, and if you try to take on a project that isn't going to work, you're just doing them a disservice as well as yourself. And I think you'll see why when I tell you some of these incidences that I've experienced. Now, years ago, I got a request from a customer who wanted me to build him an Explorer style guitar. Now that in itself is no big deal. However, he wanted me to carve the neck, the body, the neck, and the fretboard out of one big slab of wood, a one-piece guitar. That in itself isn't that out of the ordinary. In fact, I think if you do a YouTube search for one-piece guitars, you'll find that there's a couple of videos out there where guys have actually carved guitars out of one giant slab of wood. But where this particular project went off the rails was when the customer requested that the wood I use be a huge slab of Brazilian rosewood. Now, if the customer had been able to furnish that piece of wood, I'd have been happy to accept the job. But he just assumed I could find it for him. Well, Brazilian rosewood is the holy grail of tone woods for guitar builders, especially acoustic guitar builders. The problem is it's an endangered species, and it's recognized as such in the CITES list. So trying to source a giant slab of Brazilian rosewood is next to impossible. And we're talking about a piece of wood that would have to be 2 inches thick, about 18 inches wide, and probably 45 inches in length. You're just not going to find a piece of Brazilian rosewood that size. I even considered looking at purchasing a piece of furniture that had been made out of Brazilian rosewood. The problem there is most of the furniture made out of Brazilian rosewood is antique. It's extremely valuable and therefore really costly. And I think at the time, I was looking at spending anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 for a table that I could repurpose as a one-piece Brazilian rosewood guitar. When I explained this to the customer, he, of course, thought I was just making up excuses and threatened to take his business elsewhere. Well, I decided just to let him go. In this instance, I could tell this was not a project that was ever going to come to fruition. So I dodged a bullet there. Another project that I had that came up was a customer had sent me some sketches for a guitar that he wanted me to build for him. Now, I always encourage people to send me photos, sketches, whatever reference material I can draw from to build their guitar. However, in this instance, he had come up with a headstock shape that was unworkable. And the reason it was unworkable is because he had specified that he wanted 3x3 tuner arrangement and a straight tuner pole. You can do that, but in this case with this headstock design that he had come up with, it wasn't going to work. And I even tried to draw this out as a scale drawing to explain to him that it wasn't going to work. And once again, he thought I was just making up excuses. So he threatened to take his business elsewhere. And when that happened, I just let it go. And I consider that dodging yet another bullet. Another incident that happened once was a customer asked me to cut a guitar body for him, and what he wanted was a super thin body. And the thickness he specified was 1 3/8 inches thick. Now, I've seen guitars cut to that thickness before. In fact, I think it's Black Machine was making guitars with that kind of thickness, and it's not completely out of the ordinary. But in this instance, he was also asking me to fit it with, or to route it to accept a Floyd Rose tremolo. And he wanted this tremolo to be recessed into the body. Well, think about it for a minute. You're recessing a Floyd Rose tremolo, or any tremolo for that matter, into a body that's only 1 3/8 inches thick. Where is the tremolo block and the springs going to go? Well, I'll tell you where they're going to go. They're going to extend out of the back of the guitar. It's not going to work. When I explained it to him, in this instance, it made sense to him. He realized, oh yeah, you're right, it won't work. In fact, we even talked about taking the shortest tremolo block that's available, which is I think 37 millimeters, and grinding it down shorter to make it fit. But at that point, we realized the tremolo isn't going to function properly. So in the end, what the customer decided to do was to increase the thickness of the guitar to something a little more favorable. And I think we went with like 1.5 inches. So that worked. Another instance that came up was when a customer asked me for a guitar with a 24 3/4 inch scale. Now, that's the Gibson scale, and it's something I've made many guitars from. And in this instance, what he specified was not only a 24 3/4 inch scale, but he wanted 26 frets on that scale length. Well, think about what's going to happen from about the 22nd to the 26th fret. They're going to get so close together, it's going to be very difficult to play. And to make matters even worse, he wanted super jumbo frets. It's just not going to work. You're not going to be able to play a guitar with the frets that close together at the end of the fretboard. And when I explained it to him, he claimed he had seen it done before and that it would work fine. And I said, okay, then, good luck. Hope you can find a luthier who's willing to do it, because I'm not going to do it. There's just too much potential for a problem there. So in that case, I felt the customer was wrong and I wasn't going to accept the project. Now, recently I had another request come up, and it's possible the person who made that request will see this video. At any rate, he was asking for a really thin guitar with a Floyd Rose tremolo, a 24-inch scale with 24 frets. And then he wanted 3 pickups. None of that's going to work. If I were to accept that and try to actually force that to work, it's going to be a disaster. And it's going to come back on me. And I don't want my name associated with a stupid idea that's just not going to work. So I tried to politely decline it. This led to an argument and some disagreement. And he ended up calling me all kinds of foul names. So I consider that a bullet dodged, so to speak. And oftentimes you will find, as you're accepting projects or considering projects, you'll start to see little red flags popping up. And you will start to recognize when a potential customer is just jerking your chain, and in many cases has no intention of ever paying you. When those sort of projects come up, and it's really anything that's a red flag, I suggest you decline, because it's going to lead to a waste of time and a waste of money, and it can reflect on you. It's better just to let some of those customers walk, because you're just going to frustrate yourself otherwise. So that's this week's quick tip. The customer isn't always right, and you need to let them know, and you need to do so to protect yourself. So take care. We'll see you in the next episode, and we'll get back to talking about luthier stuff.